Good evening. This is Ankush here from Alif Consulting. Welcome back in our partner enablement video series. In today's video, we're going to talk about how we can run a hybrid file share with the disaster recovery for remote and local branch users. We do have a video on Azure file share, which is specifically how you can access or use the Azure file share. But in this video, we're going to showcase or we're going to tell you how this Azure file share can replace your on-premise file server or how you can take the disaster recovery advantage using this feature. In this video, we're going to talk about what is Azure file share is, what are the advantages, use case, and then I'm going to run through with the reference architectures where will be going to show you the key point of solutions, use cases, pricings, components, and at the end I'll show you the demo how a file sync can help you to sync your on-premise data to the cloud. Let's quickly jump to the introduction. So Azure File Share, as we know, is a fully managed service in the cloud and that are accessible across the globe over the internet using the SMB and NFS protocol. Azure File Share can be mounted on any of the system who have the access of the internet. SMB file share or NFS file share can be connected on Windows, Linux, Mac OS, right? And another thing is SMB Azure file share can be cached on a Windows server using the file sync for the fast access and near where the data is being used. Advantage with the Azure file share, it's shared access. Anyone can access who have the internet access and the authentications can be use SMB and NFS protocol. The Azure file share can replace your on-premise file server because Azure File Share do have an integration with Azure AD and Active Directory domain services where we can take the advantage of that and can enable the authentication. It's a fully managed, no need to manage any kind of hardware operating systems, no need to manage the patching and the critical security upgrades or replacing the any kind of faulty hard drives. Fully integrated with PowerShell and CLI can be used to do the administration of the Azure File Share. Its resilience, it do have built-in resiliency which allows you to have the replication within a region or across the regions. It is the familiar with all the programmability, so anything like doing the API integrations, everything can be possible. Developers can take the advantage of this Azure file share to integrate it with the application as well. Use case, lift and shift migrations, or if you really want to migrate your file servers from on-premise to cloud, you can use your file sync. At the same time, if you really want to take the advantage of Azure to do the DR for your file share, you can use the Azure file sync server to do that kind of capabilities as well, right? Creating the centralized resource for sysadmin and development team, centralized configurations with the and the log files, right? Now that's are the use case which is written here. Let me tell you one few more which you need to think about when you're selling this solution to the customer. Okay, let's say there is a customer who is having a 50 TB or 60 TB of data on the file share, right? And he is basically always having a space issues because of whenever there's a space issues there, whenever he has to go with the run, he has to rerun all the scan. He need to see what kind of files is there any file which no need to be there, is there any kind of heavy ISO files or maybe the application file put it there which is not required to be there. So that's again every time he need to do the sync, he need to do the manage of the folders, which is again a overhead for the person, right? At the same time, what he can do, he can use Azure file sync to replicate the data on Azure, and from there he no need to worried about any kind of space because Azure do have a up to 100 TB of limitation with Azure file share. He no need to worried about having the faulty hard drives, upgrading the hard disk, upgrading the space on the server. Second, there is a customer who have the file share running, but he don't have any kind of disaster recovery. He is thinking about having that disaster recovery because he have faced some of the hardware issue in past, which caused him a business outage or financial disturbance in the business because of that outage. That's where the he the customer can use this Azure file sync server as a disaster recovery. That's where if there is any issues with the on-premise hardware, user can still access the Azure file share using their credentials with Active Directory integrations, and they can continue working from there. Right? That's the second one. Third, if let's say there's a customer who really don't want to be on the cloud, he really don't want to have the Azure file server in on-premise, he want to completely move on the Azure, right? That something is also possible. That's where Azure file sync come in. Azure file sync will allow him to copy all the data from the cloud, and then he can set up a one Azure sync agent on the machine, and from there the users can access all the data, all the files which is there on the cloud. So these are the three major use case, the selling point for this specific solution. This is how a reference architecture looks like. So you will be going to see like there is the two branch offices. These branch offices can be anywhere across the globes. They can be in one region, they can be in one country, they can be in east or west, they can be north to south, anywhere. And that's where Azure file sync server going to become in place, which is going to sync the data from server to Azure file share, or from the Azure file share to the server, and the branch users and the cloud users can access that data anywhere seamlessly. Like the branch desktop, the branch user will be able to access it locally, and any other users who really want to access it from the internet, they can use the Azure file sync file share endpoints to connect that with their AD credentials, or you can use or you can use the Azure virtual desktop solutions to access those files as well. If you really want to know about Azure virtual desktop, Azure storage accounts, we do have a separate AVDs videos, and the storage account videos created. We will be going to put links in the description. Please go ahead and check out for those video if you really want to learn what is the storage account, and if you really want to know how AVD work and how you can deploy the AVD solution in the customer environment. Key points of this solution: user who are on the on-premise at the branch can use their desktop to access the file share using the file sync server, and the remote user can access it using the virtual desktop, or they may can use the Azure file share public endpoint. But if there is a security concern, we would recommend you to put Azure virtual desktop there. If customer don't want to go with the Azure virtual desktop, you do can put a point to set VPN there to access the file uh, share with private endpoint enabled. Second, Azure File Share provide you a centralized file storage in the cloud for workload files and the FS logs profile. Each branch on on-premise having the file sync server endpoint provide a cache of branch cloud service, uh, and on-premise users that connected to the endpoint can get the access of their data. So the third point main is the file sync will be going to do the caching of the cloud data to the server, which is on-premise, which is acting as a file sync server, and from there the branch user can access all of the data since the data is going to be cached on the local server. Fourth, for each branch a cloud endpoint provided a cache of the branch cloud based file share that to the local to the cloud desktop, and that's provided by a virtual desktop. Cloud desktop user then connected to this point can get the quick access to their data. Fifth, the on-premise cache and the cloud cache backup one another and provide the faster recovery for the outage. So let's take an example. You have a file sync server running on on-premise, but there is outage happen. At the same time, you can access directly from the cloud, and it kind of fast recovery from the outage. Use cases, again, a global organization required a centralized file for business critical workloads. As I told you, workload required a local cache because of heavy file access. So there is a case when you are directly accessing Azure file share, you might be facing the issues of a slow performance because your file is kind of 2 GB or 3 GB file, and it's take time to download the file and open the file. That's where a cache come in place. You can enable the cache on Azure file sync share, and from there user can access the file very seamlessly. A remote workforce need access of both inside and outside of the branch office, right? That something has happened during the COVID. So let's take an example. A user is sitting in the office for 15 days, and for rest of the 15 days he is sitting or working from home, right? That's where this kind of solution can come in. That's where the user can access the Azure file share when they are connecting from the home over the internet, or then when they came back to the office they can use Azure file sync endpoint to connect with the files of from the Azure file share. Key components, there is not a much key component. There is a Azure file share, there is a virtual desktop, is the desktop and app virtualization service, which is again a managed service, and third is the storage account. As I told you, if you want to do a deep dive on Azure storage account and Azure virtual desktop, please check out the link in the description. Pricing, so there is a lot of consideration of there for the pricing. First, this solution reduce the on-premise maintenance and the server cost. Server provide the cache and the redundancy is no longer required. That's the one of the thing, because it's going to reduce your price. You no longer need to buy extra hardware or storages for the on-premise. Second, with the storage account, you can adjust the redundancy and the quality of data and the quality of snapshot data. It's allow you to select the number of sync servers to use the support to support your file workloads, and cost is the quality of data stored. So with the storage account you do have a flexibility of selecting what kind of storage account you need, what kind of performance you need, what kind of file share you need to create, what is the performance going to be, what are the replication type going to be. So you do have a flexibility to doing it on a Azure. Third, Azure virtual desktop will be allow you to give the pool desktops to the users. From there user can log in into the virtual desktop and can access these files using the uh, Azure file share. Fourth, bandwidth charges are for data sent out from the environment. Like any kind of data which is sending outside of Azure environment will be charged. So these are the pricing considerations. Whatever the storage performance or whatever the storage replication type you are selecting, you will be charged accordingly. Virtual desktop charges are according to the pool you are selecting. Either you are selecting a dedicated pool or either you are selecting a shared pool. That will be again based on that. Third, the bandwidth will be charged only for any kind of outbound connection. So any kind of inbound connection going to be there inside the Azure, there are no charges. But at the same time, if there is any data going outside from the Azure environment, will be get charged. Well, let's quickly move into the demo. So in the demo, I'm going to show you how Azure file sync work. I do have created a Azure file sync and the server where it is being replicated, and I'll show you how exactly the data is being replicated. Well, if you see, there is a service which is Azure uh, storage sync, which I have created, and this is the file share which I have replicated uh, from the server. All right. So if you see, there is a service. So this is the service which I have created. This service do have a registered service server actually, which is one of my server I have created on Azure, and this is the server, and it do have a sync groups which has been syncing the data from on-premise to the Azure file share, which is opened in the another tab, right? So you will be going to see, so this is my cloud endpoint where data is being replicating, and this is my server endpoint from where data is being replicated. And if you go inside of this, you will be able to see uh, there is a path of the location from where the data is being replicating. Just give it a few seconds since my laptop is working a little slow. So you see, this is the path which has been replicating. Now let's quickly jump to the servers. Sorry, so this is the server. So you will be going to see this is the drive which I am replicating. Now if I create any folder here, let's say Alif demo, right, it will automatically replicate the folder to the another file share which is on the cloud. So in my network location I do have already mounted the file share as a local on a local system on a server. So if you click on refresh, you would be able to see the folder which you have created on this one, which is this, will be get replicated to the Azure file share. So you just need to wait for a few seconds and it will be getting replicated here also. Or if you really don't want to go and check here, what you can do, you can go back to the Azure server, sorry, on the Azure portal, and if you click on refresh, you would be able to see that folder is here. This is here. It will be get refreshed, and at the same time, if you really want to put, so if you see accidentally the name has been not updated, so this is a new folder. Let me replace the name of this folder first, and then quickly I can add more file here. Let me add a files, and so I have put it a more files, and you will see if you quickly go on the file share, you would be able to see the file has been copied. But I think I have put the files on a wrong location. It should be on the it should not be here. So let me delete here because this is the location of my file share. It should be on this temp drive. So if you see in the temp drive, I do have a Alif demo folder. So let me quickly delete this one first. Let me create a new folder, Alif demo 01, and as soon as you create it, let me put for more file here. Uh, so I have put a 5 file here. Let's go back to the Azure portal. Uh, like you can see I have a folder created with the same name, and in that we would be able to see all the files, and then I can access this private endpoint to modify the file, and the any file which is modified here will be replicated to the server on premise. Well, that's it in the demo. I hope you like this video. If you like, please click on like and subscribe for more upcoming videos, and feel free to reach us if you have any questions. Thank you.